The book of Ecclesiastes is probably not the best known book in the Bible, but there is one section of it which most people know, and it's the poem about there being a time. And I'm just going to read the first few verses of that, because we just need to remember that there are times and seasons in the purposes of God. So Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1, there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot. Now, there's an interesting point here, because there are some things that happen in time that we have no control over. And that's appropriate to leave it like that, leave it in the hands of God. A time to be born and a time to die are outside of our control. But there are things that are within our control. So the poem goes on with these words, a time to plant and a time to uproot. And this isn't just being left to circumstances now. This is involving decision, isn't it? Am I going to plant or am I going to uproot? And sometimes it's necessary to uproot before we replant. And these are decisions we have to make in life. And we need to be aware that both are legitimate decisions. There are times when we do have to uproot things and to opt for a fresh beginning, to plant afresh. And God is definitely in the business of doing a new thing. But sometimes He expects us to move on and do new things too. To be prepared to lay aside some of the things that have held us back. Because sometimes it's memories. Sometimes we need to uproot memories that are not constructive, to uproot actions that are not constructive, and to plant things afresh in our lives. Now, there's a challenge here, because when you're uprooting something, it implies that it's been growing for a long time. And when you're planting something, it implies that really it's yet to get going. So it can be quite difficult when you're uprooting things, because they've been around a long time. But it can also be difficult when you're planting something, because you're having to set out in hope. You put that seed in the ground, hoping that it will germinate and actually produce whatever you're looking for. The fruit, the vegetable, the flowers. You know that you have to plant the seed. And so I want to encourage you, find out what God is really saying to you at this point in your life. And if He's saying uproot, then be bold enough to uproot. And if He's saying plant, then be patient enough to allow that to germinate, water it, treasure it, and see that new thing that God is doing in your life come into fulfillment and come into fruition. So there are times that are in His hands, and times that He entrusts to our hands, as long as we stay within His grip and within His grasp.